So, you're a Cleveland Browns fan. Just how big of a fan are you? Do you deserve a seat at the Dawgs Table? Well, you're here, aren't you?
The best fans, the most patient fans in the league.
This is the Dawgs Table.
Touchdown, Shabalama Hub!
If you're obnoxious, opinionated, over the top, and you live for the Browns...
45-40, run, William, run! 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown!
Welcome to your new family, the Dawgs Table, an official Dawgs By Nature podcast on the SB Nation and Vox Media Podcast Network. Let's do this. Welcome to the Dawgs Table. Now your hosts, Craig Fountain and Ryan Angelo.
Let's go! Let's go!
What's up, everybody? This is Craig Fountain and Ryan Angelo with the Dawgs Table. We are coming to you this Tuesday, and we're live. So if you're on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, we appreciate you for tuning in. For the rest of you, we are with the Dawgs By Nature Podcast Network via SB Nation and Vox Media. And you can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are going to talk about this week's loss, where our season's heading, what to look for, Watson's progression, maybe some coaching stuff. And we're going to talk about all that. And if you are watching live, stick around for the overtime show where you can join us and have some discussions with us. Ryan, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm okay, buddy. It's Tuesday. It is not a victory Tuesday. The Browns season is effectively over and the stress is gone now. So it's not really that bad of a thing, I guess, in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of ripped the Band-Aid off. Because, I mean, realistically, we had an outside chance, and we talked about it last week. If we had won this game, this was the hardest game left on the schedule, assuming Lamar Jackson doesn't play when we face Baltimore. And had we won this game, we realistically had a chance to run the table and hit the playoffs. The likelihood of that still not great percentage-wise or odds-wise, probability-wise, but the chance was much more palatable to be able to say, I'm going to, take this on and I'm going to root for them and get my hopes up and things like that. Right. But we don't have to worry about all that. We are not going to drag this out to be disappointed in week 16 or week 17. The Browns are not mathematically eliminated as far as I've seen, but I mean, effectively, like you said, the season's over.
Yeah, it's over. I think it's like a 0.4% chance or something like that, which is like, the size of the skin on my chin right here, but it's not gonna, or the hair on my chin right here, but it's not going to do anything for him.
Yeah. And we're kind of going to get into off-season mode here shortly because that's what we have to talk about. We have coaching, we have personnel as far as free agency coming up. We have future free agents. We have injuries to talk about. The draft's going to be coming up. We're also going to be evaluating players for the last 4 games of the season. So keep tuning in for that. But let's talk about the Cincinnati game before we move on to what's moving forward. I felt like this was a winnable game.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely winnable. I mean, you were effectively playing Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and third and fourth and fifth string wide receiver group, right? So it's like you think that this defense has the opportunity to take advantage of an offense, that's usually explosive, that's missing T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and, Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's Joe Mixon. He never really tends to tear up the Browns, but, there was a prime winnable game for them, I think, in my opinion. The defense for Cincinnati played lights out, but yeah, I mean, they were missing some key pieces that should have made this game a little bit easier to win, but, it wasn't in the cards.
Yeah, and what did we talk about last night? We talked about Joe Mixon maybe coming back and the effect that P. Ryan could have on their run game. And I think we were on the money with that. He is not to be overlooked, even though Mixon was back. He had a lot of success against us. we did some things well. There were some silver linings.
Mhm.
I'm not. I'm getting tired of moral victories, but let's kind of go through this game. So let's talk about the big play everybody wants to talk about. Give me your thoughts on the decision to put Jacoby Brissett in on 4th down, not having thrown a pass. He threw one pass this game, and it was on this 4th down, and they took a shot at the end zone on 4th and short. Give me your thoughts on the play call and how'd you feel about that? That's your boy, man.
It was a head scratcher. I mean, it's one of those plays that we've talked about throughout the season when we've evaluated Kevin Stefanski and his tenure as the Browns coach this year. It was odd. You're effectively moving the ball down the field. It seems as though your offense and Deshaun Watson have some type of momentum going for them. Deshaun looked better in this game. He's moving the ball. It seems like he's reading the field a little bit better. And then on 4th and 1, you decide to take the hot quarterback out, bring the guy off the bench. And I could understand it if you were going to line Brissett up with, Chubb and Hunt or something like that and try to do some type of funky run play to get the extra yard or even the QB sneak. I can understand that type of play call. But to have him come in, take your hot quarterback out, come off the bench, and then throw a pass to the end zone, it's just, I understand the concept. They're trying to catch him sleeping, but at the same time, it just wasn't the time for that. Like you're effectively trying to start your game off on the right foot and you put your foot in your mouth instead of in front of you. So it was weird. And I think rightfully so, Browns fans can be upset about it and they should be. It's been heavily criticized since the game happened. And it's just one of those things where it makes you think, is Kevin Stefanski on the hot seat? Is this really the coach for this team? Is he the leader that this team needs? Is he one of those guys that he feels that he's, smarter than he should be? I don't know. It's just tough. It was a very, very odd situation and it was an odd play call. And it's just one of those ones that's been happening all year long that you just kind of scratch your head and you're like, man, that just really happened. Like, I don't understand why he did that. So I was right there with Browns fans that I didn't like the call either.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that I was a fan of it. I guess there was personnel issue, right? So supposedly,
so they say.
So they say Harrison Bryant was supposed to be in there. Pharaoh Brown stayed on the field. The connection just wasn't there. To be fair, Brissett was seemingly on the money, but the receiver couldn't quite get there. I don't think that was an overthrow. I think the ball went right where it should have.
Yeah.
But either way,
let's be honest. Personnel issue. Let's be honest. What does it matter? What is Harrison Bryant bring to the table that is so spectacular that Nick Chubb needs him to get 1 yard or Kareem Hunt needs him to get 1 yard? You know what I mean? Like that's just such a crappy cop out for the Browns to even say it was a personnel issue because your best player isn't Harrison Bryant.
I don't think they blamed the failure of the play on not having Harrison Bryant in there. I think they said not only was the play unsuccessful, but like we had less probability of executing this play because we had the wrong guy in there. There was chaos at the line. We were struggling to get the right guys out there, get the playoff, that sort of thing. That's the angle that I took from it. Either way, this far into the season, we shouldn't have a problem getting the right guys.
I got you. See, I took it the other way around. I thought it was they called that play because they didn't have Bryant in the game. So that's what that's how I took it. But that's either way, it's potatoes.
Who knows? But let's talk about another 4th down play. Should they have let Cade York attempt what would be an NFL record-setting field goal?
I mean, why not?
Instead of a Hail Mary pass.
I mean, listen, we can Monday morning quarterback it all we want to, right? But either way, if it's a great successful kick, yay, Cade York made that kick. But if he misses it, we're going to roast him and we're going to roast Kevin Stefanski for having him kick a 60, 70 yard field goal, whatever it was. So, I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter either way. They were in a rock and a hard place. And I don't care if you throw a bomb there to try to make something happen or kick the field goal. Like he's probably got a chance of making it. He does have the leg, but I just don't. I mean, the percentage of him making it is probably very, very low in that point. So I don't care either way, to be honest. Like it's just the Browns. It's just how their season has played. It's perfect.
Yeah, I loved his reaction on the sideline,
Oh
like
yeah,
the confidence that he had with an exchange with special teams coordinator Mike Prefer.
right.
I was lip reading, and Prefer was obviously telling him like, dude, this is 67 or 68 yards.
Yeah, and
And
he's like,
Cade
so
York's
what?
like, Cade York's over there pointing at himself. Come on, put me in.
Right,
Put me in. Come on,
right,
put me in. And Prefer said something to him, and you could clearly see Cade York say, I
right.
don't give a,
Right. I mean,
so it
just let him
was
kick it then. You know what I mean? Like your season can't get any worse. Like that one kick isn't going to make or break your season at that point. So just let the guy go out there and try to make the field goal for you. Who cares?
right. I mean, the argument's always going to be the Hail Mary has a higher probability
Right.
of being executed. But I mean, at that point, you're
Right.
not, I don't know. Anyways, those were not the first one was arguably a pretty
Yeah.
big issue.
Yeah.
The Cade York thing, I mean, whatever. But Nick Chubb couldn't get going in this one. He had 14 carries for 34 yards. That's only 2.4 yards per carry. And something else we talked about last week was the Browns and Nick Chubb, this running game, they're going to keep seeing these 8-man fronts until we make somebody pay for it. We did not make them pay. So we're going to keep seeing it. And it was a struggle. They couldn't get the game. Kareem Hunt, 4 of 6. 4 carries, 6 yards.
Yeah.
1.5 yards per carry. So we had a terrible day on the ground. It was absolutely awful. Deshaun Watson showed a little bit of improvement over the debut game against Houston. I think he started off a little bit more efficient than he ended up. He ended up throwing the ball 42 times, completed 26, 276 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The rest of the season's just, I mean, all we're gonna be doing is kind of evaluating his development.
Right.
We're going to be looking at Peoples-Jones' development. He had career highs in a number of categories: 12 targets, 8 catches, 114 yards. He had a monster game. Amari Cooper had a very uncharacteristic game to where there was a couple he couldn't haul in.
And he was limited. I think he was injured before the game started or whatnot.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought maybe that might happen with him, but I mean, this was definitely a game with the run game. Not to backtrack, the offensive line the trend has been downward, and this game started out, they had been cracked. The foundation was cracked. And then by the time the game ended, I think you saw it in the efficiency of the offense. The offensive line broke. The Bengals defensive line out physicaled them. They broke them mentally and physically. And I'm very, very concerned about the offensive line moving forward.
That's definitely going to be the area of focus probably in the offseason on the offensive side of the ball anyways. Between that and wide receiver, I think that's definitely where they're going to, put a lot of their attention. The defense, man, the pieces just keep falling. JOK is dealing with injuries. Man, this was not, we keep saying it over and over again, but I still can't wrap my head around how terrible we've been on defense this year. Defense was supposed to be the strength of this team. We finished strong enough last year and added a couple pieces that made us really think going into this year that the defense was going to ball out.
Yeah,
But,
I'm sorry. I'm in my work office and somebody's ringing my doorbell. My dogs are going crazy. So
oh, gotcha.
I muted myself, but
no worries. But yeah, and on the defensive side of the ball, we did get a turnover, which is good because we've been struggling until last week against the Texans to get turnovers. Deion Jones had an interception. Man, this was a tough game on defense. Myles Garrett was a bright spot though, 2 sacks. But they pretty much let the Trents, right? The Trents,
yeah.
Trenton Irwin and Trent Taylor. We allowed them to gash us. Trent Taylor had 1 for 34 yards. Trenton Irwin, 2 for 58, a touchdown. You have a more of a typical stat line for Jamar Chase, 10 receptions on 15 targets, 119 yards and touchdown.
Yeah.
We just let him throw all over us. Joe Mixon had 96 yards. Samaje Perine had a touchdown. He had 4 carries, got 5.5 yards per carry on the ground. So we failed all the way around on defense.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I think we saw the team break throughout that game. Like, I think the defense broke, the injuries caught up to them. The offensive line broke. I mean, it was just an all around poor performance. And it's unfortunate because there is talent there. I think they are significantly lacking in certain areas, but as you said, the injuries going forward are just catastrophic for this team. I think they're pulling linebackers off the streets at this point to play. It's going to be bad going forward. So, we're going to see how they can pick the pieces up and be competitive, and if they can, but it was rough.
Yeah, and I feel like if we would have gotten off to a little bit of a quicker start, and maybe this is where that 4th down attempt in the first quarter really went south, because if you look at what our defense did, we forced them to punt on their opening drive. They got the ball to open the game. We turned the ball over on downs on that fourth and short. What was that? A 4th and 1? It's 4th and short, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They take over on downs. We force them to punt. We punt, they punt. We had a chance to be up in the first quarter had we converted on that 4th down. Now, I think, the idea was obviously Jacoby Brissett's successful with the QB sneak. They tried to catch him sleeping, that sort of thing, whatever, which is fine. But we have to convert that. We had a chance to get some points there. Second quarter, punt. They score a touchdown, Jamar Chase. We kick a field goal. They get a touchdown. End of half. We get the ball back after the half. Punt. They punt. We punt. Touchdown. And there was opportunities to score where this game could have been a lot closer.
Right.
Just if we would have gotten a few more points in the fourth quarter, this could have been a 23-13 or 23-17 game. It could have been a lot closer.
Well, I mean, it's just on par with how the season has gone. I mean, you referenced the Jamar Chase touchdown, and it's that play. If you go back and watch that play, the cornerback that's guarding him on that route, I believe it was Denzel. Matt, he actually wasn't even playing a horrible coverage on that. He was playing inside leverage on the route, and it was supposed to be help over the top from the safety. And you just saw a safety that lackadaisically walk, kind of like half jogs over to this pass play. And it was like they were both surprised that the ball got there. And it's like, it just sums up the Browns season defensively perfectly, because he's the top receiver, young receiver in the league, right? If not top 3. You have to know he's the only receiver on the team that's going to burn you like that. You know what I mean? And they just both seemed like they were surprised. And it was like, how did this ball get here? And he's the only threat that they have on the team right now, because the other right receivers are hurt. And it just sums it up for him. I mean, it really does. It's mind-boggling how bad it can look when you break stuff down.
So we come out of this loss, and fans are starting to lose their mind. Media is starting to suggest certain things. And, this game kind of put Kevin Stefanski at a little more the forefront of the talk about being on the hot seat.
Right.
Now, we can get into this a little bit before we get into the next game. But this didn't do anything to help Joe Woods. This didn't do anything to help Mike Prefer. Stefanski is, I think, on the brink of losing the fan base. He may have already lost the locker room. I don't know. And for the record,
let's be honest, he may have already lost the fan base.
He may have. Now, I am not firmly on the fire Stefanski bandwagon. So here's what I'm going to say. I am not let's fire Stefanski. That is not where I'm at right now. However, my prediction, regardless of whatever Mary Kay is saying or whatever, I still believe that even though that some of the local media is saying that Stefanski's safe. I'm not buying it right now.
Me neither.
I think that there's going to be a scapegoat this season. He could maybe save his job by cleaning his own house, getting rid of Woods, getting rid of Prefer. We haven't even really talked about Alex Van Pelt. He doesn't want to give away play calling duties. He'd probably rather lose his job than give up his play calling.
Most likely. I mean, it's his sword. Why not go out on it, right?
Right. Exactly. That's what got him here.
Right.
And that's the way most of those guys are, and that's fine. But when it comes to the guys that are pretty much reporting directly to Haslam, the way our front office works, you have D. Podesta, who is reporting directly to Haslam. You have Barry, who actually came after Stefanski. Stefanski was part of the group that sought out and found Barry. I think Barry's kind of leapfrogged Stefanski, and I think Barry's got better job security, even though we're starting to question his drafting ability and talent evaluation ability, things like that. But I think that there's a chance that, D. Podesta's like, hey, listen, I'm giving you the data. Kevin's not doing this, something like that. We know how these things go.
Right. And I'm there with you because I have a sneaky suspicion that his seat may be hotter than what some of the media members are trying to make it out to be, because Jason Lloyd had made a comment this week on a TV show that D. Podesta actually wanted to hire Robert Saleh over Kevin Stefanski, and the organization went the other way. So if there's already dissent within the organization on who they should have hired the first time around, it's typical Browns all over again, honestly. And whether you want to admit that or not and say that they've turned a corner as far as the franchise has, the organization and the structure and all that stuff, if there's already dissent on who was to be hired in the first place and he's not succeeding, that's going to come back, and it's going to come back roaring its ugly head, and it's going to make a difference come time whether or not they're trying to decide what to keep him, because now you're talking about your chief strategy officer, whoever he is, D. Podesta, possibly walking because you won't fire the guy that shouldn't have been hired in the first place.
Yeah, and I this is something I had posted on social media, and I said, hey, I mean exactly what I just said here. I'm not saying that I believe Stefanski should be fired, but I think his seat's a lot hotter than a lot of people realize. And there's a good chance that of all these analytics guys, he's not the most influential. Some people are like, well, the Ivy League boys are going to stick together. They're not going to turn on their own. In this business, there is nobody's going to fall on the sword to not keep their job.
Tell me I have to fire somebody or lose my couple $100,000 a year paycheck, and I'll tell you what I'm doing.
Right. And think about your workplace environment. Just because they have these jobs in such an elite fraternity and there's so few of them doesn't mean it works that much different. The finger pointing starts going around. D. Podesta is going to say, you should have hired Saleh. I wanted Saleh. And Stefanski's going to say his analytics are garbage. I need more football decisions, less analytics decisions. And Stefanski's going to say, well, Barry didn't draft the right guys. And Barry's going to say, well, D. Podesta told me to draft this guy, and I didn't want to draft. Like, this is how it's all going to go.
Yeah.
So, eventually one of those three is going to be out. I don't think that they clean house, but something just tells me that while a couple months ago, if you would have asked me, I would have said the Watson thing kind of resets Stefanski's timeline and job security. The more I'm thinking about it and the way things are going, I'm kind of going backwards on that. It's just, I don't feel that strongly about that anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I'm there with you.
And there's always going to be disagreements, right? There's always going to be disagreements. And I don't know that I would say that we love drama, but we're speculating here about what could happen. I am saying that I don't buy the safety of Stefanski right now. I just don't. All right, coordinator wise, s- w- Woods is gone. Like
he's gone.
What would your reaction be if they kept Woods around?
I think the city of Cleveland would burn down.
There'd be some
I
rioting.
think the fan base might even try to burn the stadium down. Like he's the scapegoat. I mean, he is right now. He's got the target on his back, and would be absolutely shocking if they didn't let him go.
Yeah,
and I don't care. I don't care what Mary Kay says.
Yeah, so there's if you're listening on the Dawgs By Nature podcast network, there are some folks commenting. You know, we kind of alluded to this earlier, like the misinformation that comes out in the media, you know, they have their friends too. Yeah. They have their sources, and they're not gonna do anything to you know, disrupt that channel of information. So
that's the thing.
You know, Baker was a slam dunk, right? Like they were going to give him an extension, and then Baker Mayfield, they were not going to go after Watson. They were committed to Baker Mayfield, and this and that and the other. Like, even if they're close to the team, the local media, and by media, I'm talking like the Plain Dealer, Cleveland.com, like these massive media outlets that are local. All right, so.
Just keep going.
Norman, stick around. Norman's commenting. We'll talk about this when we can, when we're not on the audio only portion of the show, because I can't wait to get into this. But yeah, this season's just been awful. The team's been awful.
It's been rough.
Too many excuses.
Injuries aren't going to make anything better moving forward either. That's the thing, is the foundation's already crumbling, and we drop a couple more games with this easy end of the schedule, and it's going to be rough.
All right. I think we ruffled some feathers. All right, back to focus. Sorry, I was reading comments. I'm multitasking while we're recording this. And you can catch us live too if you're on the Dawgs By Nature podcast network, Tuesdays at 9. Of course, you guys catch the replay on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Dawgs By Nature podcast network. All right. We have a Saturday game. 2 Saturday games coming up.
Do we really?
Yeah.
I knew this next one was Saturday, but I didn't realize we had 2.
Christmas Eve.
Oh, that's right.
Christmas Eve is on Saturday. So we have this next week the Ravens, right?
Yep. Anybody want my tickets? Hit me up.
Oh man, if I didn't have to work, I might take you up on that. Right. Yeah, you can't sell them, right? That was what we were seeing today. You can get seats for as low as $8.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to try to get club seat prices. That's for sure.
All right, so yeah, it's looking like Lamar Jackson's not going to be back, and Tyler Huntley is still in the concussion protocol. So we don't know exactly who the quarterback is going to be.
Is it still the former Penn State quarterback? Is that their third stringer?
Man, I know who you're talking about, and I believe that's who's in line right now.
Oh, God, what's his name?
Give me a second. You know, ESPN, when the game was happening, I checked the box score on ESPN. I was checking my fantasy lineup, and it said unknown player is under the box score.
What's his name? Why is it
Anthony?
Maybe they don't have him anymore. Anthony Brown is their third stringer. God, I don't know who I'm thinking. McSorley. That's Trace McSorley or Swarley.
Do they have Trace McSorley?
Not anymore. He was there last year.
Arizona, right?
Yeah, he's not there anymore.
But no, I mean, Huntley can do some damage. We've seen him do it. Oh, yeah. You know, the last time we saw Huntley, it was like Lamar never left the game. If anything, he sparked him a little bit against us. That was the poo-poo game, right? He had to waddle to the locker room.
Yeah.
Yep.
Squeezing the cheeks, baby. Squeezing the cheeks.
Booty cheeks. Lamar Jackson's booty cheeks.
Booty cheeks.
Yeah, so I don't know. At this point, I don't care who the opponent is.
Right.
I don't feel comfortable calling anything a win. And actually, at this point, listen, I'm rooting for the Browns to win.
Yeah.
If Stefanski really has a handle on this team, they won't quit. At the same time, it's like, I don't care if they pull our long-term guys and we just lay down and we tank for a higher pick in the second round. I really don't care at this point. We don't have a first-round pick. You can't hurt me anymore this year. You can't
Right.
hurt me. Really, we have one goal, in my opinion, and that's to get Watson ready for next year.
Right.
I
Plan your
disagree with
offseason.
you, Ryan, on the fact that that was always the plan. I think the plan was to be competing for a playoff spot right now.
Well, I'm
until
sure
week
within the
17.
organization, yeah. I'm sure that that's
But
what they would ultimately
I
love to
think
do.
we all thought that was the plan, though.
Yeah, I didn't.
But yeah, this wasn't supposed to. For me, this wasn't supposed to be like the preseason. Deshaun Watson.
Well, I mean,
That's kind of what it is now, and I think that you're going to start seeing guys. You're going to see Michael Woods getting more involved. You're going to see David Bell getting more involved. They're going to play around a little bit. We might see more Jerome Ford because I really don't see Hunt coming back. I know we disagree on that also. I don't think this is his last chance to get. There's no reason for him to take a team friendly deal. There's just no reason. He needs to go get his last check.
I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't
know. Presumably Amari's back next year and Donovan Peoples-Jones is back next year. We're going to have David Bell. Outside of that, you have Anthony Schwartz is on the IR. He may not be back. Andrew Berry's going to have to start cutting his own draft picks.
Right.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. I get that Kareem Hunt is a hometown guy, but
I the only thing that I'm going to say on that is that the reason that I lean towards him staying with the organization is that because I think it's going to be hard for him to get paid somewhere else because he doesn't have a lot on tape right now. And I think that's going to be what's going to limit him to get the big check that he would like to get possibly somewhere else. I don't think it's outside of the realm of the possibility that they can put a team-friendly deal together with him just because of that, but we'll see.
So I'm going to plug this because I saw this in the comments. And if you're listening to the Dawgs By Nature podcast network, chances are you read Dawgs By Nature. I did an article about Jackson Smith and Jigba's draft stock and could he fall to the Cleveland Browns in the second round. Even if he did, I don't want Jackson Smith and Jigba on this team.
He is not going to fall to the second round.
He probably should, but he won't.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. Listen, this guy had one good season, and out of this good season, he had an epic 5 games. Outside of that, the guy's done nothing but either be hurt or not produce. And
I'll say that he won't fall out of the first round.
He doesn't have elite size. He does. Okay, let's talk about it. Doesn't even need to be elite. He doesn't have great size. He doesn't have great speed. Right? Like his route running is good. It's not great. Like this is a very average athlete. So, to me, if you want to compare him to like sometimes we say quarterbacks, like they're not elite at any one thing, but they're good at everything. You could say he's a gamer in that aspect a little bit, but there's just really not, in my opinion, that's a huge gamble. A huge gamble to take him even in the second round. Now, somebody is going to fall in love with him and fall in love with the idea of him, and they're going to draft him. I don't think he would fall to the Browns, regardless of where we pick in the second round. However, if he does, I would hope we pass on him personally. Now, I'm not a homer. I'm not an Ohio State fan. I also don't have a reason to dislike Ohio State. I like to give Ryan a hard time or our listeners a hard time because I know most of you guys are Ohio State fans, but I really don't care. We're already getting into draft talk here now. All right. This is going to be an interesting offseason. He outperformed Olave and he outperformed Wilson.
Right.
They went pick 11 and 12 in the first round.
Yeah. I think their success in the NFL is probably going to be the reason why he does not fall out of the first round. I think that the success and track record of Brian Hartline developing them as receivers is probably going to be the reason why he doesn't fall out of the first round.
Could be. I don't know. He
ran a 4.5 40. It's not that slow.
For a wide receiver.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He actually is an above average route runner, though. I will give him that. I agree with what you've said, but he is an above average route runner.
If he would run a 4.3,
I mean, that's
and really show that he's pro ready, I think that helps him. I'm getting into a wager with Always Positive J. If you guys are on social media, if you guys are listening, you may have come across Always Positive J. Most people have. He thinks Njigba is going to go top 10. So we have a wager on that.
I would say he's definitely going to go top 20.
I think if he goes in the first round, he's going to go between pick 25 and 32. Personally,
man, I don't know. I think it depends on his combine. I think if he has a good combine, he's top 20 easy.
All right. We'll have all off season to talk about Jackson Smith and Njigba.
I mean, Jameson Williams really had one good season as well and was hurt with a major knee injury and still went top 20.
Okay.
But he's fast. I mean, he's a lot faster than
his physical traits are different.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, he was a one-hit wonder too.
All right, one-hit wonders sometimes work out. Man, it's not that I'm a pessimist. It's just like I just don't agree with everything you guys say. Like I know we're on different pages.
Yeah.
You know,
he had some good plays at Ohio State before he transferred to Alabama, but he wasn't getting enough playing time. Didn't think he was going to get enough playing time, and he went there, was the number one receiver in a year that Alabama needed a number one receiver, had a great year, and then hurt his knee like late in the process, really didn't do anything in the combine and still got drafted top 20. I think the NFL draft, that people care more about possibilities in future than they do the actuality of everything. They're playing Russian roulette with college kids is what they're doing. They're looking at something and they're going, what's the chances he's going to pay off for me? And, you know, somebody's going to pick him. But I get what you're saying. Don't listen to the comment section, Craig. Don't let him get you all blue, buddy.
Man, they are roasting me right now.
They are roasting you. It's all good. I got roasted all week
are two different things.
Twitter, so I love it.
I feel like I'm the more realistic one because I'm not Jackson Smith and Njigba is not a jersey I'm buying. It's not somebody I'm rooting for on Saturdays. I'm not rooting against him. He's not my boy. Because I'm not an Ohio State fan.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. There's going to be plenty of guys to talk about. Hopefully in the second round, we're taking a defensive tackle, like a kid out of Clemson. That's the guy I'm looking at right now. He's on my wish list.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I mean, Andrew Berry's got his work cut out for him. He doesn't have any first round picks. I think the Browns are going to be very active in free agency this year in trades. I really do. I would not be surprised to see some of these guys getting traded out of the building for younger players and for him to be very active in free agency because, you know, he really has no other choice. You know, he's not going to plug all the holes on this team with the 8 draft picks that he has this year.
We have a shortage of draft picks. We have salary cap limitations. He's going to have to do some salary cap gymnastics. Mm-hmm. We can free up a ton of cap space, but not without mortgaging our future. You know, every time we restructure one of these deals and we convert money into signing bonuses, you're spreading that money out over the future years. That can bite you real quick.
Just push it down the line. That's what they always do.
Well, I mean, at this point, Barry might have to. I mean, if he's successful, he'll have to deal with it, but you know, he may not have to. Anyways, back to Baltimore.
There we go.
Winnable game, especially if Lamar Jackson's not in there. But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I want to see the defense play like they give a shit because I really am not seeing the give a shit factor from the defense. You know, Miles was still going. I know people like to criticize him for taking plays off or not hustling. He's not the guy you have to worry about. Neither is Clowney. There's plenty of guys that don't hustle that you should be more worried about.
Yeah.
This John Johnson thing did not go the way I thought it would at all.
No.
I was so pumped to get him. I was rooting for him. You know, he had a great thing going in LA before he got here. and it just didn't come to fruition. You know, we have so many injury issues. This defense is gonna have a whole new look out of a couple guys, aside from a couple guys. Speaking of Ohio State guys, we probably should have traded off Denzel Ward while he had more value, in my opinion.
It's a hot topic.
It's a hot topic, and you know what? I like
Was
Denzel
he
Ward,
worth the
but
money?
huh?
Was he worth the money?
Well, see, that's the question. Nobody is saying Denzel Ward isn't good. He is a good player, but with the amount of time he spends on the field and the production we get out of him, when you put that together with the contract we gave him, I'm not sure it was the best contract.
Yep.
So it's one of those things where I would be like, my heart would be telling me I don't want this Denzel Ward to go anywhere, because I still have we know how talented he is, and we have an idea of what he could be. But you know, with that contract and putting the other pieces of the puzzle together, I don't know if that was a good contract. And it was better to relieve ourselves of his services this past year rather than next year. So it's not like, it's like we might have committed to him just by waiting. We don't have as much of a choice now, the way his contract is structured. All right. Somebody's on one. Nobody said Denzel Ward is trash. Nobody said Denzel Ward is trash. He is a great cornerback. Is he $100 million quarterback? I don't know. But
tough questions. But we got all off season.
It could
to
be
talk
our
about
defensive coordinator. I mean, it could be a couple
could
things.
be.
I'm not convinced Wood has these guys prepared at all.
I mean, John Johnson was extremely successful in Los Angeles, and he's been a shell of himself since he's come here. So, I mean, something's not right.
Something's not right. Yeah, this isn't. I mean, I wish I could be real feel good right now about next year. This year's not even over. This is one of those seasons where this year's not even over, and we're already talking about next year.
Yeah,
because there's not a whole lot to talk about for the rest of this year. I mean, we're gonna throw our jerseys on, like the one I'm wearing right now. We're gonna root for the Browns on Sundays, but at this point, is it gonna make or break your day? We don't have any hope. There's not a whole lot to root for here.
Right.
You know, it's just, man, we're in the grieving process right now.
Right.
I think. And I'm the pessimistic one.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm usually the one getting yelled at, so I'm kind of liking this flip right now.
Oh, man.
I'm digging it.
If you guys are listening, not watching, I'm getting insults in the comments. I don't even know what they mean. But yeah, so all right. Any more thoughts on the Baltimore game? We didn't really get too deep into it. I mean, I'm watching to see Deshaun Watson's progression forward. I'm looking at getting the running game back on track, seeing if this offensive line is not in good shape right now. So my expectations are pretty limited there. And I just don't trust the defense. So these are all beatable teams we're playing for the rest of the year, and none of them are, in my mind, a layup at all.
Right.
Like,
I can't wait for the Christmas Eve game when Andy Dalton comes into Cleveland and just roasts our secondary.
Man. So we have like a 0.4% chance to make the playoffs. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder what kind of standings, like what kind of tiebreakers we would have. What all would we need to happen?
Oh gosh.
I don't know.
That's a set of mental gymnastics that I'm just not ready to take on. Sorry.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that is it for today's show. Well, Ryan, give me a prediction for the Browns-Ravens game, and then we'll head to the overtime play.
Oh God, I don't know. I can't predict anything other than a Ravens win. I think the Ravens beat us personally, unless something happens and we see a significant increase in Deshaun Watson's play or the offense's play. I think the Ravens defense is really good. I think they shut down our run game just based on how our offensive line is playing right now. We've got weaknesses at center. We've got, tackles that are not playing the way that they should be playing. We've got, guards that are paying significant amount of money that aren't playing very well. They're all having issues. I think unless the offense plays lights out, we lose. That's just my opinion. I can't come up with a score prediction. I'm just not prepared mentally to do it.
Yeah, so for me, I'm with you. I think Baltimore's going to win this game. I don't think they're going to beat the brakes off of us.
No.
I think it's going to be similar to what we saw this past week. Maybe another touchdown from each team, something like that, especially if we can get the ground game going.
Right.
But, something like a 30-17, 28-14, something around there.
I do not think we stop their run game. Not with 4 backup linebackers off the practice squad. It's just not going to happen.
So hopefully the rest of you are more optimistic than we are. The Dawgs Table pessimists.
Right.
We should change the name of the after show to the pessimistic overtime show.
Right.
But,
listen, we love our Browns. We're in pain just like every other Browns fan out there. Don't take the mood of the show as how every show is going to be from now on. We're living in the moment, guys. We're there with you. We're fans just as much as you guys are. So, just bear with us. We'll get back to where we need to be, and we'll be talking about good stuff in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're watching, stick around for the overtime show. This is Craig Fountain and Ryan Angelo. We are here with the Dawgs Table. We thank you for listening. And we are part of the Dawgs By Nature podcast network via SB Nation and Vox Media. We will be back next week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. And until next time, go Browns.
Go Browns.
All right, Norman.
God dang, Norman.
All right, Norman.
Jeez.
Chestnuts.
Chestnuts are roasting on an open fire.
Man.
All right, Norman. The only thing I'm about to say is there's one comment here. You got, because they are going to be mad about last Sunday. Let's be honest here, Norman. These guys are professional athletes. This isn't a college team. It's not a high school team. These guys are not going to come out and play. When have you ever seen the Cleveland Browns give you the inkling that because of the way a last game went, that they're going to come out and be like, gotta win this game. We're going to be 10 times more focused. These guys say this about every game. They're always focused. They're always prepared. They've prepared the best that they can to win the game throughout the week. And they come out and they look flat.
They're not playing with that attitude is the problem.
That's the problem. I mean, that's been the consistent issue over the last season, 2 seasons and a half. They play like they don't care. Half the team is jogging to plays. Half the team's giving up on plays in the middle of while the play's still going on. Like this team has not given us any inclination that they're so fired up about a performance last week. And this is what we're going to do. Miles has complained about the team for 2 years now. I mean, he's always got something to say. Well, we didn't do this. We didn't do that. I mean, I love that you're an optimist, Norman, but I'm telling you, my man, this team is not, they're just not doing that. That is not how they prepare. You can tell when they play on Sundays. They do not play with the chip on their shoulder. They don't tackle like they have a chip on their shoulder. They don't talk like they have a chip on their shoulder. They don't bark at people on the field like they have a chip on their shoulder. They play reactive football. They don't play, proactive football on defense. It's just, they're not a smash mouth football team. They aren't, from the top to the bottom. It's just not the aura in that facility.
Smart, tough, accountable.
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
I don't know that we even have 2 out of those 3.
No. Hell, they can't even take accountability when they do something wrong. So they're not accountable. They don't play tough. They're not tough. And half the time they don't play like they know what they're doing. So they're not smart. Like,
and you bring that up and we talk about the beginning of the season. And I know we've went rounds on this, but the Denzel Ward thing drove me nuts. And it was the defensive side of the ball. The defensive guys were pointing fingers at each other while the offensive guys were taking the blame for the defense's performance.
right.
Like, there's a culture issue, and it's not even the whole team.
Right. Like
So,
there's a problem when you have a top tier cornerback like Denzel Ward, who has played with someone like, I'm losing his breath. What's the corner's name that's on Twitter all the time breaking down the plays? Oh shoot, he played for Ohio State with him.
yeah, I know.
I'm brain farting right now. I don't know why I'm brain farting, but Tyvis Powell. So Tyvis Powell calls him out when Denzel comes out on social media and is like, "No, that wasn't my fault," because Tyvis Powell knows, because he played in the league. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he tells us, like, on social media, he's like, "No, this was how the play was supposed to go. He was in the wrong, and he needs to own up to it." So like when those guys are calling him out, that's an issue. Like, this is a guy who's sitting home on his couch on Sunday because, he didn't have the talent that Denzel has, but he understands the game, and he can tell that he's talking out of his butt because he doesn't want to be embarrassed. Like, your top players shouldn't be doing things like that. You shouldn't be having issues like that with those guys. So, and it's just this freaking epidemic within that organization. I don't understand.
Norman, if you don't mind me asking, if it's not too personal, it's okay. You don't have to answer, but like, are you missing the game unintentionally? Like, do you have other obligations? Because listen, I am always going to watch the Browns game. It doesn't matter how bad they are. I've never turned a game off early, and I've never missed a game. All right. There's been a couple times where I've turned my phone on airplane mode until 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. and watched the DVR recording, not knowing what was going to happen. I've never not watched a Browns game. I've never turned one off early. I am always going to watch. It doesn't matter how good they are or how bad they are. So no, I'm not happy if anybody misses the game. For sure. But I guess that also depends on your emotional roller coaster while watching these games. For me, it's I'm not like these Pittsburgh fans you see on TikTok where like somebody, like their family member, records a video of them like punching holes in their TV and throwing chairs through their window. Like that's not me. We jump, we yell, we scream, we cheer, myself, my wife, my son, whoever we're watching with.
I just sit in shock and awe.
But like, yeah, that's God. The working thing's always disappointing. Yeah. I work until 4 that day, so hopefully I don't get held over at work, or I'll be doing that airplane mode thing with my phone. So if I'm not texting some of you back, that's why.
No, and I love your optimism, Norman. I really do. Like I've been there. I just, there's some point that something switched in my mind where I just decided that I have to realize the truth about what we're watching, right? So it's hard because when you're a diehard fan of a team, you live and breathe that team. You live and die by the games. Your emotions throughout the week suck because of the games, or are great because of the games. You don't want to think negatively about your team, but at a certain point, you just got to put that aside, and you got to sometimes realize, like, I got to be a realist at some point. Like, there's certain things that they're not doing that you see in other teams when you watch other games, and you're just like, man, why don't I see that fire when my team plays? Or why don't I see that type of execution when my team plays? Or like, God, this team looks so prepared. Why does my team look so bad every week? Like, there's just things you got to realize that they're there in front of you, and we got to see them as fans. And I think we do our team just a disservice if we don't call those things out. But that's just me.
Yeah, and there's also an element of it too. Like, we share the same optimism a lot of times internally, right, or during the game. One of the things about us doing this and kind of putting ourselves out there to create content and stuff is we kind of have to take a step back sometimes and kind of look at it from an outside perspective. Right. We look at it from a fan only perspective. Perception's reality, and it kind of clouds the analysis of things. And I think that's why the media, especially in Cleveland, with the way this team has been for so long, is generally viewed as negative. Right. Like, they feel like the media puts a negative spin on everything. I don't know. I'm not saying they don't a little bit, but I don't think it's just all that negative. I think that they share the same sentiments as people looking from the outside in that aren't Cleveland fans, and Cleveland fans don't want to
Right.
hear a lot of that. So like, and for us, we kind of have to put our emotions in check and because somebody can chop this up and spread it around. Ryan, you got some business on social media this past week for asking a question based on something you heard on Cleveland Talk Radio.
I did.
And they came at you and said, this guy's an idiot podcaster.
Yep. Sure did.
So,
yeah, I mean, it was like, and that's what I even posted a follow-up to it. And I said, it's really unfortunate that we're so miserable as Browns fans that we will attack other Browns fans for having an opinion on something, or even simply something as asking a question, because we're just that upset with ourselves and our franchise that we just want to attack each other and make everything negative. And it's like, like it's terrible. Like, it's just where we're at as a franchise and where we're at as a fan base. I don't see other fan bases doing that. I don't see Tampa Bay fans doing that. I don't see Chargers fans doing that. I don't see these other teams that are successful year after year doing things like that. It's just weird. I don't know. We have a subset of fans that are just really weird.
Nothing to apologize for, Norman. We're not
buddy.
We're addressing you in particular.
Listen, it hits me and it falls off my shoulders, dude. I make fun of them, like I'll jab back and forth. Like, Craig's a little bit more PC on Twitter than I am. I like to rib people. I like to go after people every little once in a while, like not in a negative way, but I like to like give back sometimes what I'm getting.
Look,
and
from a perspective is, writing on Dawgs By Nature and doing the podcasting and things like that, we're split down the middle so much as a fan base. Like, I have opinions and I'm not scared to share my opinions, even if they're mostly unpopular, but most of the stuff that everybody's arguing about is so split down the middle. Taking a side is one thing, like saying, okay, I agree with this side of the argument. Dying on that hill, like you have something to play for, and you alienate half the people that may listen to you or half the people that may read your work, stuff like that. So I tend to, it's not that I'm not giving my opinion. It's just, I'm not going to go die on a hill.
Right.
So,
And it's,
I'm a little more PC. I've in the past, talking about Baker and my feelings on Baker, I had, an opinion that half the fan base didn't agree with. And, I was a racist and a Trumper and I want to perpetuate mediocrity and, all these other things. And it's just like, see, I chose a hill to die on, that I thought that there was no reason to move on from him. I don't think that, he's nowhere near the athlete Deshaun Watson is. We've talked about this ad nauseum, but like, I still don't, the draft capital, the contract, the way we handled him, stuff like that. And
and the funny thing about the tweet that and just for the background, Norman, I was listening to the radio. It was 92.3 The Fan. They were talking about the possibility, like one of the sportscasters brought up the possibility of like, hey, what if Sean Payton was the coach of the Browns? Would Sean Payton do really well as a coach of the Browns? And, would it even be possible to get Sean Payton? Obviously, I don't think Sean Payton is going to be the coach of the Browns, but I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty good topic of conversation. So I went to Twitter and I said, I paired Sean Payton with Brian Flores. And I said, if Sean Payton was the head coach and Brian Flores was the defensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, I think they would be really successful here. Am I crazy to think that? And most of the negativity that I got on that tweet was actually from one person retweeting my tweet, and it was his followers coming at me, which was fine because
a YouTuber
who talks about football for a living and was attacking another person who talks about football, not for a living, but like just talks about football. So like, I thought it was just asinine, the whole situation, but and that's fine. If you want to post my stuff and talk crap about me, that just gives me more publicity. So whatever, good. Thanks. Like, I got more followers out of it. But for all the people that reached out and said stupid stuff about, there were people that still DM'd me or people that messaged me were like, dude, it's not that crazy to think about. Like, what if it did happen? Like, they could be successful here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. But anyways, that was the situation. I thought it was funny. Like, I just put it out there and I'm like, dang, I didn't think I had to preface this to say that, like, I'm not stupid enough to think that Sean Payton and
if you did,
Newt Rockne and all these guys are going to come coach the Browns now. Like,
if you did preface it, you'd be weak for having to preface it.
Right.
So,
exactly.
No. So no, it's just,
It's just
I don't know.
it's just
We've
social
never really
media.
talked about this on this show. I know we're getting away from the Browns a little bit, but when you get into content creation, doesn't it change things
Oh
a little
god,
bit?
yeah. Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
weird.
I mean, people hang on the words and twist everything you say, and I mean, you have to be like super careful about what you say and think about it hard before you tweet it and all that stuff. Like, it's it's just funny how it works.
Oh man. Did Elon Musk delete all your followers?
No, I
Okay.
still have the 4,800 that I had. You went from like 20 to like 10 or something, didn't you? Like, it was like,
I think I went from like 18 something to 12 something.
jeez.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
what you get for paying for followers.
Oh,
Just
stop.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Jesus Christ. Who's got the money for that?
Right? Oh, dude. As soon as I paid for my Twitter check mark, you know how many people have said stuff about that too? That's like the first thing that someone says to you now. If you say anything like in a Twitter argument, they're like, look, it's coming from the guy who paid for his check mark. I'm like, so what?
At the same time, they're like, make the edit button free.
Yeah, I'm like, who cares, dude? What the hell?
Oh, man. All right.
Nobody yells at you for paying for your forums of college teams that you want to talk about. Like, who cares? Let me spend my money how I want to spend my money. Damn it.
Right. Oh, man. I can't believe you just accused me of paying for followers.
I was
Damn,
kidding.
That was cold.
I was kidding.
That was cold. Damn.
Listen, I knew your meteoric rise was too much. I knew it was too quick. Something was off.
You know what I do think it was? So when I don't know, how long ago did you sign up for Twitter?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look. It's been
so like
years,
I've signed up for a couple Twitter accounts for like the Dawgs Table. I have a Twitter account for. There was one for my other podcast that we made. When you log in, like it'll say like choose from these accounts, and it'll be like NASA, Joe Biden, Elon Musk, Cleveland Browns, NFL, something like that.
Right.
If you follow the Browns, it serves you like a list of like 20 or 30 people that tweet about the Browns. I think I started landing on those lists, and I think that's why I rapidly gained followers, but there's probably a lot of bots that went through that process.
Sure.
And did that,
I mean, I
sure.
probably have them too. I mean,
so
is what
speaking of, I don't know if Craig's still watching. Your Njoku jersey is on the way. It's the holiday season. I promise it's coming. I know you said you're patiently waiting.
They had to manufacture that thing, my man. They had to stitch it stitch by stitch.
Right. Man. Yeah, there he is, Craig. Hopefully my Njoku jersey shows up soon. I'm patiently waiting. I promise it's on the way, Craig. Congrats again. Some of the ones I did even before the holiday season took a month. And that was from multiple vendors. Even the one I ordered from NFL.com took like 6 weeks to get to somebody.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, we're rambling now.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we covered everything. We'll see how it goes this weekend and go from there. That's all you can do.
You teased something, and I said save it for the show. Essentially, before we went live, and now I'm curious. So we can always circle back to it, but I gotta know because I think we're both in agreement. Joe Woods has gone after this year.
Yeah,
and you said you have a surprise.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily
coordinator candidate that is a former Browns player.
Yeah. So my sneaky suspicion is that somebody who's going to be a hot name on the NFL defensive coordinator market is a former Browns player. He was a safety for the Browns. He was defensive coordinator for Wisconsin. His name is Jim Leonard. He is connected to the organization. He was supposed to be joining Luke Fickell's staff at Wisconsin this year, but there was a flip on that, and they decided to go their separate ways. Some have speculated behind back channels and some of the college things that I have access to that have said that he's been gaining some interest from some NFL teams about possibly filling some open roles at the end of the season. So I do not know if the Browns are one of those people, but he has been linked to the Browns from his playing days. And from what I've heard, he's fond of the organization. So who knows? I think it would be a good fit. He was a great defensive coordinator in college. He's a smash mouth player in real life. I highly doubt that he would have a soft defense. So I don't know, just a name to keep an eye on.
All right. Norman wants to know what the injury report's looking like.
Everybody.
So today, David Bell did not practice. He's got a thumb and a toe injury. Jadeveon Clowney and Amari Cooper did not practice, but on the official Browns injury report, it says not injury related - rest - ankle for Clowney. So it's like not injury related, and then they listed a body part. Amari Cooper was the same designation, not injury related, rest, but also notes hip. Froholt, the center, ankle injury, fully participated. Myles Garrett, not injury related, rest, shoulder.
Jeez,
AJ Green, cornerback, practice fully, but he's got a toe issue. Limited participants in practice. John Johnson, knee. David Njoku, knee. Denzel Ward, shoulder. Denzel Ward, shoulder. That's just another. All right. He's playing injury bingo. Chase Winovich was a full participant with a knee injury. On the Baltimore Ravens side of things, Lamar Jackson did not practice. Tyler Huntley was limited with a concussion. Marcus Peters rested. Demarcus Robinson, wide receiver, rested. They're pretty clean. I mean, on their offensive line, you have Kevin Zeitler was limited, and Rod he's dealing with the knee thing, and Ronnie Stanley rested, so he was limited. But like, they're pretty clean, cleaner than we are.
Yeah. And J.K. Dobbins came back and looked really, really good last week.
Okay, but did you see the touchdown run where he was running it full? I don't know.
Is it the one they were talking about? Is like his get up, like he was like running funky or something like that?
Yeah, he was running funky. Like it was like he was operating at 50%. Like he was trying to. Normally he would have been gone, like off to the races,
right?
But like. Yeah, he was limping when he was running.
Yeah, he was definitely. I don't think he's 100%, but I think he's still dangerous. Like, you know what I mean? He's still a good running back.
Yeah. So like, if he breaks one out, gets to that second, third level or whatever, like you can probably catch him. But
yeah,
he doesn't need to do that every run. I mean, if he can get 6 or 7 yards up the middle each time, which is what they need him to do versus us, against us, then he's going to be dangerous. And it seems like it doesn't matter who the Ravens play at running back. We can never stop the Ravens run game, it seems like. So,
yeah, I don't know. It's what you doing? Oh, here, can you give me some more iced tea? We're just talking now. But yeah, I don't know. I thought he looked good for not being 100%, but I'm a J.K. Dobbins fan.
All right, so
I think we're talking to each other though at this point.
Yeah,
I think Norman's still creeping out there, but
all right. So we are going to close out the show. We appreciate those of you that stuck around to chat with us. Come back next week, Tuesday, 9:00. Hopefully, we have a victory Tuesday.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure you rate us 5 stars, especially if you have Apple Podcasts. Rate us 5 stars on there. Norman says, I never creep.
I never creep.
He's just listening.
What was that? A salt and pepper song like creep or something? What was that? Back in the day.
I have no idea.
Remember now.
All right. So that is it for today. Until next time, go Browns.
Go
Thanks
Browns.
for watching.